Hey everyone, back with you again today with another movie review. This time talking about the Netflix documentary Wham! Directed by Chris Smith, recounting the story of two best friends, Andrew Ridgeley and George Michael, as they rise to superstardom with the pop group Wham! Look, this film, obviously Chris Smith, known for American Movie, Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond, the documentary about Jim Carrey transforming into Andy Kaufman for Man on the Moon. And of course, ever since then, he's been one of the most sought after and reliable documentarians. Especially, he did the Fire Festival documentary. And, you know, he's just been very, very prolific in that sense. And look, I was very excited for this one in particular because if you guys don't know already, I am quite a fan of George Michael especially, but of course Wham as well. And I was really interested to see how the story played out because I only know so much about Wham and know more about George Michael and his personal life and his solo career. And this was a very, very delightful documentary, I must say, and very, very insightful in a lot of ways, because my biggest takeaway from this film is I will never downplay the importance of Andrew Ridgeley in Wham ever again, because if it weren't for him, he wouldn't have pushed George to create a band with him, and George Michael never would have been what he was if it weren't for Andrew and his constant care for George and kind of looking out for him and really I think there's a really interesting point in the documentary where they mention there's the real Andrew Ridgeley and the fake one, which was obviously George Michael. Had a lot to do. George Michael took a lot from Andrew Ridgeley's own personality and what he saw in him to create this kind of characterized version of himself. Especially being a closeted gay man in the 1980s, it was quite a big deal for him trying to find a struggle of who he really was. And somehow, though, I mean, Andrew was really the influence on that image he created for himself to a fault, but certainly not Andrew's. And, I think really, if it weren't for him, Wham wouldn't have existed. And so you got to give this man all the credit in the world. And he just seems like such a nice lad. He's a guy I'd love to sit down and have a chat with. But really seeing the genesis of this group take off. And I mean, I'm going to be honest, I'm not huge on their first album or anything. But it was nice seeing these two buddies who just bonded over music and just happened to get together one day when George was transferred into Andrew's school, and he kind of took him under his wing and kind of brought him up, and they just bonded over their love for music and ended up launching themselves into superstardom. And it's really an insightful story, and it's so interesting because there's no use of talking heads whatsoever. Obviously, I'm sure they got a lot of audio from Andrew since he's still with us, but George Michael, they had to use all archival audio, and yet the storytelling is so concise and consistent throughout the entire thing. And I think the thing that really adds a lot to it as well is just their own personal anecdotes, definitely, but also the fact that Andrew's mother had like a scrapbook of like when they went on tour this time, when this single hit the chart, and she kind of like chronicled their whole career in her scrapbooks, and you get to see them pop up as the story progresses and kind of moves it along as a storytelling device. And I thought that was really cool because this is all just built off of archival footage and audio, and it's kind of hard to create a riveting documentary sometimes off of that, but they really do quite a great job here, Chris Smith and company. I think it is a very, very compelling story. I was even loving this at some points. It just really was so fun watching this really beautiful friendship between these two guys. They were very symbiotic with each other, and Andrew was completely accepting of George and his sexuality, and he understood what his role was in getting George to superstardom, and just the way he's so gracious about having to kind of take a back seat because everyone kind of sees him as the other guy in Wham. And after watching this, that's entirely not true. And I think you really get to see this very enduring and caring friendship between these two men. And George Michael's quest for superstardom, which in some way I can relate to him as a musician. I saw a lot of myself in George Michael and how he's like just trying to like do whatever he can to like reach that level of success. So very, very ambitious man, and really just shows how much he exponentially grew as a musician throughout the group's not tenure, but the few years that they had in the spotlight. And I really just love seeing the creative process for some of these iconic songs that we all know and love. Like Careless Whisper, which they played a demo of, and I was honestly astonished and how they were kind of rejected with that, which I think is crazy because that really is a #1 hit. And a lot of things I didn't know about the recording process as well, which I'll leave for you guys to see in the documentary. But it really did shed a light on how this group progressed is from a songwriting standpoint as well. And I thought that part was also very intriguing. And of course, hearing all the hits, like Careless Whisper, Wake Me Up Before You Go, Last Christmas, it really just puts a smile on my face. And yeah, I mean, obviously you're going to get a killer soundtrack when you're going over this group. And yeah, really love seeing the musical evolution of these guys throughout the entirety of this documentary. Really, it's just a lot of fun. It's very heartwarming because they don't get into the stuff with George Michael's solo career or his drug addiction or any of the aftermath of him fully reckoning with the fact that he was a gay man, though they certainly do touch on that because of what happened in that period of time. I wish they kind of dived into some stuff a little bit more, because by the end it was just like they were doing another show, they were doing another show and doing another show. It got a little repetitive, but overall this was a really, really delightful film. I was so glad to watch this, and I'm so glad as a fan I got to get such more insight into this wonderful, wonderful friendship. I mean, these guys were simpatico, and you can just tell how much love these guys had for each other and how much love they had making music and just seeing their wildest dreams come true. It really is a heartwarming story, of these two guys from this small English town make a big time. So yeah, I'm going to give Wham 8 out of 10. Very, very good documentary. It's on Netflix if you guys want to check it out. So please do yourself a favor if you have Netflix and give this one a watch, because I certainly don't think you'll be disappointed, especially if you are a fan of Wham and George Michael. So yeah, guys, let me know if you've seen this documentary down in the comments below. Smash the like button if you are liking what you're watching and want to see more content like this. You got to subscribe as well if you're new to this channel. And going to be a lot of good stuff coming down the line. Of course, it might be a little bit further down into the beginning of next week, but Oppenheimer and Barbie are coming out this weekend, and you're certainly not going to want to miss my reviews for those two films, two of the biggest movies of the summer. And yeah, let me know if you're going to do a Barbenheimer double feature this weekend. But yeah, guys, keep enjoying those movies. Keep enjoying Wham. Keep listening to that music. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm never gonna